Good morning, doctor. My name is Madan Raj. My matric number is 264172. Today, I would like to present text for the CFO. Should Pfizer acquire Allergen? The executive summary. The key protagonist in this case, Frank D'Amelio, the Chief Financial Officer of Pfizer. On November 20, 2015, Frank D'Amelio needed to prepare a recommendation about whether to proceed with or stop major talks between Pfizer and Allergen, a pharmaceutical company with headquarters in New Jersey but tax resident in Ireland. Pfizer needed a big move because its revenue had declined over the last 3 years. The stock price had been flat and investors were growing restless. The company needed a big deal that would improve the company's financial performance and competitive position among other global pharmaceuticals giants. Statement of problem in this case: whether pursue merger with Allergen. Second, do not go through with Allergen merger, or the nearest meaning is stop merging with the Allergen. Now I would like to discuss about transfer pricing and also tax repatriation. For the transfer pricing, many companies based in US use transfer pricing, which the transfer pricing of goods and services sold between affiliates outside US to minimize their global tax rate. After transferring intellectual property to low tax jurisdiction in other countries, companies manipulate licensing and cost sharing arrangement to avoid or reduce United States taxes. Cash from global operation is then parked offshore until the tax professionals can figure out how to get it home tax free. For the tax repatriation, usually refers to the conversion of offshore capital back to the currency of the country in which a corporation is based. When a corporation based in the US generate earnings abroad and choose to repatriate their offshore earnings, then corporate taxes are charged on repatriated fund. So in this case, Pfizer will pay 12.5% instead of 40% to repatriate these funds, potentially freeing up cash for other users if its tax residency moved to Ireland. Now let's talk about tax inversion. Tax inversion are transactions used by a company, in our case Pfizer, whereby it becomes a subsidiary of a new parent company, which is Allergen, in another country for the purpose of falling under beneficial tax laws. Typically are used by US companies to move to lower tax domiciles. When this occurred, the newly merged entity was no longer required to pay US tax rates on profits earned outside the United States. Consequently, tax inversion had the potential to reduce taxes on both future profits that will be earned after the merger and on cash stock bills that had already been earned but they were being held offshore to avoid triggering repatriation taxes. If a transaction is structured in a way to gain cash overseas, that cash will eventually be affected to taxes when is repatriated to its US owners. US regulatory environment. So in this case, the US Treasury Department announced change rules under which deals could be classified as tax invasions, which means it was no longer as economically attractive for the deal to take place. After reviewing the changes, both legal team were confident, but the new rules will not affect the proposed merger because Allergen shareholders will own more than 40% of the combined company, and they built the deal around the law, regulations, and all the notices that were put out by the US Treasury, and it was a highly legal construct. If Pfizer decides to discontinue to merge with Allergen, it will lead to violate the new policy of formalizing the agreement, meant activating a US $400 million breakup clause. Now I would like to talk about the theory or analysis. So for this case, I decided to use cost-benefit analysis. The simple meaning of it is that a systematic process that business use to analyze which decision to make and which to forego. So in this case, for the cost, if Pfizer successfully merged with Allergen, the arrangement contract of under 52 billion will be approved. And what the benefit they will get? Definitely increase in revenue and profit, since both biggest pharmaceutical company will broaden their sales channels. Next, the breakout clause of US 400 million if their agreement is successful. What the benefit? To merge with Allergen is to avoid taxes bill from US Taxation Act, because US has 40% corporation tax rate but only 12.5% in Ireland. If Pfizer successfully merged to Allergen and transfer in the headquarters to Ireland, it will decrease Pfizer expecting tax expense from 25% to approximately 17 to 18%. The next is profits become locked in low tax country. It will be subject to higher US taxes if they were repatriated to the United States. But then, what the benefit? If Pfizer didn't go to the US, it will give a reduction of repatriation cost amounted 74 billion overseas cash. Now, I would like to make justification by using Ireland tax bill as my supporting evidence. So, according to the case, it is known that unlike other most developed countries in the world, US apply a worldwide tax system with high level of corporate income tax rate that can be deferred. Suppose that Pfizer had been headquartered in Ireland since 2014, it should pay the corporate tax of 12.5%, as you can see, for the 3 consecutive years, and the amount value is $1,530. But if the tax is imposed in US, the percentage is 25% and the amount of value will be higher, which is $3,060. So, according to the US tax rules, Pfizer are taxed only when their subsidiaries repatriate foreign incomes into US as cash dividends. However, to avoid higher taxation, Pfizer probably retain cash offshore in Ireland instead of repatriation to save taxes. From other perspective, if the Pfizer could utilize these revenues to reinvest in other overseas market. Next point is, what risk should Frank D'Amelio consider when evaluating the deal? The first one is integration risk after the merger. Both companies are big pharmaceutical companies. The deal involves post-merger integration risk. Allergen has over 40,000 employees and Pfizer has over 78,000 employees. Also, the company will have multiple products and locations. It will be difficult to integrate the departments and affect the gross margin sustainability. The second risk that you should consider that public or consumer opinion of ethics of a merger motivated by tax purpose. Public people will think that why should Pfizer need to merge with Allergen just because of tax purposes? Because they definitely know that Pfizer is a big company that able to pay taxes because their revenues is so high. So then the third risk is due to the all stock deal, Pfizer shareholders, although growing restless and desiring company growth, may be slightly unsettled by 44% ownership assumed by Allergen shareholders. Are tax inventions and or transfer pricing unethical? The problem with this kind of tax inversion and transfer pricing is that lack of social responsibility that is a relevant moral consideration that a company have to consider when they are doing business. In an ideal world, companies should act on their ethical and social responsibilities which include to support the community where they primarily operate. They need to be a good corporate citizen in that regard. On the other hand, these corporations are in business to make money and compete. As globalization continues to occur, these corporations need to be able to compete internationally. Inventions are a method to help corporations stay competitive. So it is an ethical action in the course of business. For the recommendation, based on my opinion, I consider Pfizer to pursue merger with Allergen. The strongest evidence that I could give is that lower income tax rate due to Allergen's Irish tax residency, because US has 40% corporate tax rate but only 12.5% in Ireland. If Pfizer successfully merged to Allergen and transfer the headquarters to Ireland, Pfizer can reduce its tax expense from 25 to 70%. The next reason that I can give is that if Pfizer and Allergen merge, they can make an arrangement cost of under 52 billion all stock deal. This indirectly increase profit and revenues. At the same time, Pfizer will be highly brand recognition and strong market leadership in the pharmaceutical. That's all from me. Thank you.